With us on the marketplace, my name is Daryl. Kwawu. Ghana has secured a little over $8 billion. I said cities in my intro. It's $8 billion as revenue since it started exporting crude oil in 2011. Now, this was captured in the semi-annual petrol funds report released by the Bank of Ghana. Here's George Jaffe with more.
The $8 billion is Ghana's share of crude since the country started exporting oil in commercial quantities. This doesn't capture the profits and revenue of other private exploration firms on Ghana's oil area. But how has the money been spent based on Ghana's petroleum accounts in the Federal Reserve in New York, USA? A little over $3 billion had been advanced to government to support projects and initiatives in the budget over the years. $2.4 billion has been taken up by the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation to finance its exploration activities and other commitments on the oil area. The petroleum law requires that a fraction of the country's earnings should be set aside for future generations and support the budget in crisis times. So, the Heritage Fund, which should be for future generations, has about $770 million in its accounts, which includes interest earnings as well, while $1.8 billion has been advanced toward the Stabilization Fund. The report also showed that Ghana's oil shipments since 2011 to June this year stood at 56 million barrels, valued at $6.5 billion.
All right, joining me on Zoom is research analyst with the Institute for Energy Security, Fritz Moses. Grateful you could join us. It's been a long time, Fritz. Your thoughts on this report on revenue accrued since crude oil exports started in 2011? $8 billion, just enough or better?
Charlie. All right, Daryl, yes, thanks for having me. It's been long, like you stated. Yes, I think it's we have also been following the developments in the petroleum revenue sector. What we understand is that, of course, as a growing petroleum exporting country, our majority of our revenues is accrued from our participation in the various operations that IOCs undertake in the various fields we have in the country. And so we accept and we recognize these as gains that are gainful, are helpful for our economy, for GNPC itself, its operations, and other things that it engages in. Our concern has been largely the reliance of some government entities, state-owned enterprises, in taking some loans, sometimes guarantees also, from GNPC to offset its liabilities. So, of course, you look at how sometimes complaints have come up with GNPC being used as revenues from the Ghana's oil sector, particularly from GNPC, being used to pay up some judgment debts that the country have had to pay. And these are concerns that, aside of course, the investments that GNPC makes in its operations, in its CSI that we see through the human brain development, through courses, AOGC, various master's programs that it's undertaking in UCC, University of Ghana, and the K University, all geared towards gainfully getting as much as we can from the oil proceeds that GNPC acquires from its participation in the various exploration activities.
Yeah, and so I'm wondering, what can we do to earn more than we are doing now, do you think?
Great. So one of the major things that the PRMA, that's the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, stipulates or looks forward to is increasing GNPC stakes in our oil exploration activities. Of course, with the incoming or the establishment of the Exploco, the purpose was that over a period of time, we would have seen GNPC increase its stake through the Exploco in the various fields. But unfortunately, due to the lag in human capacity development and technical capacity development, we haven't been able to increase both our infrastructural ability as a country and also our human resource to take up that mandate. Of course, we anticipate that the decommissioning of the Saltburn oil field will serve as a training ground for increasing technical know-how and operations in the oil fields. But then again, if we're able to increase our technical capacity as a country, also invest in infrastructure for taking up more stakes in the oil fields, we can be able to increase our revenues from there.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you about what government's posture should be when it comes to agreements with oil firms, such that we are also benefiting from these companies who are making money off us. What is the current state of affairs? How can that be improved?
Okay, so like I stated earlier, basically what we are now seeing is our continued participation, non-participation interest that we have in oil exploration. Of course, that means that we come in with a larger, a lower or smaller percentage in the revenues that would accrue based on each field. But should government be able to, should we be able to increase our capacity, technical and infrastructure-wise, we will be able to increase our stakes in these oil fields. Of course, the understanding is that we are seeing more fields being discovered. We are seeing the protein basin and the potential that it holds for our oil economy and how it can benefit this country. If we don't see local capacity development, then we may still have to go by the 15% or so that we still enjoy from proceeds that are leaving the country.
Then the question comes up about how well we have maximized the usage of the $8 billion accrued from crude oil exports so far.
Certainly, majority of the proceeds have gone into reinvesting into the energy sector, particularly the oil sector itself. And so that's one commendable feat that we think we should be looking at. Again, also, the PRMA specifies or requests that GNPC engages in some corporate social investment activities. We see several of it layered across the country. Of course, already 70% of the revenues accrued from the Petroleum Holding Fund is submitted to government's annual budget funding amount. Also, we are seeing the stabilization fund also adds on to this revenue that is gained from GNPC's operations in the oil sector. Aside that, in 2019, there was a landmark ruling that sought to ensure that 5% of the APFA amount was subject to the District Assembly Common Fund. That is to enable or help with various developments around the country, because ensuring that there is some general, there is no disparity in the revenues of our oil proceeds reaching across the country. But unfortunately, what we see, especially from 2021, was only about 1.7% of that resource was delivered to the District Assembly Common Fund. And it's something that we think it's not commendable. It's something we should be able to improve on, because from 5% and we are doing this 1%, I don't think it's something we should be comfortable with.
All right, let's switch topics. Let's head downstream. Fuel prices are going down from Monday. We expect a reduction of between 3 to 6%. What is the projection from your end, and what are the factors contributing to this downward trend?
Right. So yes, we're also seeing some reductions at the various pumps for both petrol and diesel. Of course, the large amount of reduction we are seeing will come from the petrol side. We expect to see that petrol will reduce by close to some 10% on its current price. And diesel somewhere around 5% should be the figure. But of course, the understanding we are seeing, or the figures we are getting from the international market and the local CD dollar rates, is what is precipitating this increases or this reduction in the various prices. On international markets, we saw gasoline, that's petrol prices, drop by some close to 15%. Diesel prices too dropped around 7%. Unfortunately, however, for our CD exchange rate against the US dollar, we saw a depreciation of the CD again by some 2.2%. From the mid-July to the end of July, somewhere yesterday. And so these are the two factors that are causing the expected reductions in the various prices at the various pumps.
For how long are fuel consumers going to get this break? Is it short-lived?
Fortunately, like the way the pricing window exists, we are seeing that these price reductions would last are still there. So the first half of August next month. And of course, should the current situation that we are seeing on the international markets, where prices are dropping, in the pricing window, largely we saw prices drop for oil around $99 per barrel, touching briefly around $106, $107 and then falling back again to around $101 at the end of the pricing window per barrel mark. If the trend should continue to see prices fall, unfortunately it hasn't. As of today, prices were hoping around $108 per barrel. We expect that going forward into next week, we may see price falls continues. If that should be the case, then it means that we may see a protracted period of reduced prices at the various pumps.
All right, Fritz Moses, research analyst with the IES. Grateful that you could join us. Good to see you once again. We are heading quickly to Parliament, where the minority is alleging government has padded the contracts meant to construct an office space for the bulk oil storage company limited. The contract, according to ranking member on the Mines and Energy Committee, John Jinapor, was signed under the Eswar Mahama administration at $39 million. He says it has been inflated to $78 million by the current administration. Well, Kwawu Asante has a story for us. He joins us from Parliament. From 30-something to $78 million. What's the story, Kwawu?
So according to the ranking member on the Mines and Energy Committee, John Jinapor, the Eswar Mahama administration signed a contract to construct a twin-tower head office for the Bulk Oil Storage Company Limited. And upon the assumption of office of the President Kwawu government, the government decided that there were some issues and they wanted to investigate it. They investigated the then CEO of BOST, Mr. Wa, but according to this press conference the minority did, government found nothing after Yoko had invited Mr. Wa to appear before them and answer some questions. Now the government decided that they were abandoning the project. They were not doing the twin tower anymore. They were doing only one tower for the time being. And one tower, they were doing it at the same amount that was being used for the twin tower, which will be $39 million. And so if you are doing one tower for $39 million, then the two towers now will be around 70. Government have padded the figures to inure to them some pecuniary benefits. And they are alleging that there is some corruption taking place now. They want the president, the Kwawu, to set up some independent committee to investigate the issue. We've been pressing for some documentation. They say they will provide some documentation to back the claim that they've been making. So far, we haven't gotten those documentation to peruse for ourselves to make an independent assessment of the allegations and the claims that the minority and the committee have made. But that is the allegation that government have padded the figure by over 100%, so much so that a project that should have cost the state some $39 million is now going to cost the state $78 million, and they are demanding answers. Daryl.
Why is this story significant, quickly?
Come again, Daryl.
I was asking why this story is significant in relation to the amount of money that has purportedly been spent on BOSS, and also looking at the sort of struggles BOSS has had to go through over the years.
Indeed, that is exactly where they are taking this from. They are talking about the struggles of BOSS as an institution failing successively over the last few years to make ends and spending these colossal amounts of money to build a head office and allegedly padding the figures to about 100% in terms of the sum amount. And so Parliament is set to rise today. There may be very little committee will be able to do in terms of demanding answers. But we are expecting that even through the break, they will still demand answers. They will still try and get answers from either BOSS themselves or the Ministry of Energy. They say that the Ministry of Energy, some of the institutions that fall under them, including BOSS, including TOR, including GMPC and other such agencies, are being used as a corrupt cash cow to just fund government agencies and political party activities. And so they are demanding some answers. And so, Daryl, even before Parliament rise, we know that a $250 million loan probably won't be taken, because the information I'm getting is that the Finance Committee have been unable to meet and get some sort of agreement in terms of that. So the $250 million the government is seeking to show support, they may not get it before Parliament goes on break. But at least government gets some glimmer of hope, because the House has just approved $1.3 billion for cocoa board to go onto the international market and raise some money and buy cocoa for the next cocoa season. So 1.3 billion cedis, huge enough for government to show government external reserve, as well as government getting some free room to use the money. But minority are cautioning that government should use this 1.3 billion cedis for the exact reason why they came to them, to buy cocoa. they should not use it to pay bonuses to cocoa staff, the cocoa board staff, while farmers themselves are struggling in the villages.
All right, grateful for that update, Kwawu Asante, parliamentary correspondent. We are thankful as always. Well, earlier this year, the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, PAPS, was formally launched. It is a centralized payment and settlement system for intra-Africa trade in goods and services. Now, the PAPS allows companies in Africa to pay for intra-African trade transactions in their local currencies. Is it the solution we've been waiting for as we implement the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement? Joining me, Gertrude Amokwama, Law Lecturer Coordinator of UPSA Law School, Africa Trade Roundtable, and the subject of trade and financing, as well as the Pan-Africa Payment System, will be subject for discussion when that 5th Africa Trade Roundtable, organized by the UPSA's Law School and the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, takes place. Gertrude, well, we are told that Africa currently has approximately 42 individual currencies. So imagine us trying to trade amongst ourselves with 42 currencies. Tells you why PAPS is important. For that matter, this discussion you're going to be having.
Absolutely, Daryl. Good afternoon to you and the team, and good afternoon to your viewers. Yes, so for us at the UPSA Law School, we realize that for the past 2 years, we have taken a key interest in issues relating to African trade, especially in the context of the African Continental Free Trade Area. So the topic this time around, like you rightly mentioned, is on trade financing and Pan-African settlement systems. Just saying, it's key to a successful implementation of the AFCFTA. And with the current system that we have now, there's a need to actually look at how the introduction of the PAPS is going to solve or mitigate some of the challenges that are faced in trade financing currently. So for us at the UPSA Law School, we have put together a team of experts to look at quite a number of issues. Issues such as what the major payment and settlement challenges in African trade are, and especially how responsive would the PAPS be to these peculiar challenges of trade financing on the continent. Another major issue in this area has to do with the forex disparities on trade in Africa, and how do these impact the fortunes of intra-African trade. So this is actually the reasoning or the rationale for putting together this topic on trade financing and Pan-African settlement systems on the Africa Trade Roundtable that we are collaborating with the ACCA to have tomorrow or to discuss tomorrow.
And one of the challenges has got to do with acceptance and adoption of PAPS amongst the member countries. I'm sure that will be on the table for discussion as well. So tell us about the speakers you're going to be having and the subjects they'll be dealing with particularly.
Absolutely. So we are very, very privileged, as always, to have put together a team of experts that I'll run you through quickly. We'll be joined by the Honorable Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry. He's in the person of Honorable Herbert Kappa. We'll also be joined by Ms. Audrey Nade-Kote. Audrey is a managing partner of Audrey Gray and a very distinguished member of the ACCA. We'll also be joined by Mr. Eric Monchu Intong. He's actually the West African Chief Operating Officer and the head of mission at the Afro-Exim Bank. Clearly, with the mention of the Afro-Exim Bank, that should tell you that the discussion tomorrow is going to be very interesting because we have the right people to tell us about these challenges relating to Pan-African payment systems that we have mentioned. The Honorable Minister would also be looking at how Ghana as a country is hoping to benefit from the PAPS and how we can leverage on the AFTA generally to promote the African trade. And of course, from the accounting perspective, we also have Ms. Audrey Nade-Kote to take us through certain issues relating to that. So these are the team of experts that we have put together for the discussion on the Africa Trade Roundtable tomorrow.
Remind us of when this is taking place and how our audience can participate.
Right. So the UPSA Law School ACC African Trade Roundtable is taking place just tomorrow, which is the Friday, the 29th of July, 2022. And it's happening at exactly 10 a.m. The discussion this time around is virtual. It's taking place on Zoom. And there's a need for you to register before you can participate. So you can head to the social media platforms of the UPSA Law School or even of the ACCA, whether on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and so on and so forth for the registration details. You can also visit the website of the University of Professional Studies Accra or even that of ACCA Ghana. For JoyNews as media, Joy Business, I beg your pardon, as media partners, there's also information on their social media platforms as to how one can register and join the discussion tomorrow.
We will be following closely. Gertrude, thanks for your time this afternoon. There you see it, the 5th Africa Trade Roundtable organized by the UPSA and ACCA on trade financing and Pan-Africa settlement systems. That's happening tomorrow, Friday, the 29th of July at 10 a.m. You can follow that on social media if you can. Now, turning to one other top story for you this afternoon, the Tree Crops Development Authority has launched a $100 million strategy and implementation plan for the next 5 years. Speaking at the launch, Minister of Food and Agriculture, Dr. Kwawu, revealed that the authority will receive a seed fund of $5 million from government annually. According to him, this is to equip the authority achieve its goal of being amongst the top 3 countries running the tree crop industry. Globally, the tree crops industry is worth $2.4 trillion, yet Ghana barely taps into the industry. However, Minister of Food and Agriculture, Dr. Kwawu, says the narrative will change soon as government is prepared to support the Tree Crops Development Authority to realize $16 billion as foreign exchange revenue by 2030.
The authority is mandated to regulate and develop tree crop production, processing, and trading in a sustainable manner, with the goal of institutionalizing a highly developed, diversified, value-added, globally competitive, and sustainable tree crop industry in Ghana. The priority tree crops covered by Act 1010 are cashew, coconut, mango, oil palm, rubber, and shea. These 6 tree crops have the potential to generate about $16 billion in foreign exchange revenue for Ghana by 2030. Subsequent to the establishment of the authority, Cabinet has approved a $5 million annual seed fund for the Tree Crops Development Authority for up to 5 years.
Chief Executive of the Tree Crops Development Authority, William Kwawu, reiterated his outfit's commitment to ensuring that each of the tree crops generate $2 billion by 2032.
In 10 years, we are expecting each of the tree crops to generate about $2 billion, just like cocoa. And so if you say in 5 years, I expect that we'll be able to rake in $1 million per crop. So in other words, $6 billion for the 5 years. The authority has authority over the entire value chain up to a point. Okay, it has to do with the land preparation. It has to do with, let me just cut it short, agronomic practices. It comes out. Post-harvest, we will be there. I mean, we'll be there to train people to, extraction rate, if you take oil palm, while some countries, Malaysia is getting almost about 20%, 22% of any oil palm that they extract oil from. Ghana's average is about 12%, 50% of what they are doing. So we have done all the research and we know the challenges, and so we know we are planning the solutions to those challenges.
The Swiss Embassy and the International Finance Corporation are partners of the Tree Crops Development Authority. Both pledged their support for the country and the authority.
Our aim is always to build capacities so that the authority can do the job on its own. It's not up to us as development partners to do the job. It's our job to build capacity so that the authorities of Ghana can do their job. We're very much committed to go this journey together. We have been on board since 2017 and we are committed to continue this journey together.
The partnership with IFC and TCDA actually predates TCDA. It starts with the government partnership back in 2015 to support the investment climate. But then in 2018, 2019, there was the increasing focus on the tree crop sector, originally 2 tree crops, but then expanding to 6 tree crops. And the thesis is relatively simple. This is a comparative advantage to Ghana. Land, water, agricultural history, agricultural potential, and what can Ghana do to further develop the ecosystem, to further enhance the opportunities for higher value and new tree crops to create more and better jobs and better private sector business and better development in Ghana.
Now, 20 Ghana-based technology innovators are set to contest for an opportunity to design a centralized database system for entrepreneurs. The participants from 5 zones across the country are expected to develop a platform which captures the details of startup businesses and entrepreneurs in the country and across the sub-region. Now, the platform would allow investors to easily access startups for investments. There's more in this report.
Startups and innovation hubs are essential in driving a country's economy through the creation of jobs. However, data in this space is set to be fragmented. Most countries in the West African sub-region, including Ghana, lack a centralized database of innovators, entrepreneurs, and innovative spaces. Ghana Hubs Network is in a quest to build an inclusive database system for innovative spaces in the sub-region through a nationwide contest. Programs Manager of Ghana Hubs Network, Simon Asari, says the centralized system provides uniformity of startups to ease accessibility for investors.
We needed 20 developers to come together to share ideas, to build an inclusive database that would give us the necessary data on innovators, entrepreneurs, and the innovative spaces that are part of the Ghana Hubs Network to inform on policy and also to help us in programming. We have the best developers from these regions, and they've all had enough time to build upon the prototypes that help them to win at their zones. So they are here today to help us select the best. Then from that, we build a team to further develop and deploy the system across.
And that sounds pretty interesting. That's the marketplace. Thanks for watching. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Daryl. Kwawu. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.